Now, what makes us look at integrated marketing today as opposed to a couple years ago? Well, I think one of the things, and I think Charles from Verizon, if you don't know Charles, Charles is the Fios guy, and he was just telling us a story about where the bandwidth and the wires and everything is going. And the reason I bring that up is that 2 years ago, video was not really something that you could use well on the internet. However, the bandwidth is now there. The channels are now open, and that has changed everything. That has changed everything. Not only your mobile, but your lines, your speed, communication. It's all available today, whereas it wasn't available a couple of years ago. So that makes a big difference. So now, what does that mean to the internet and offline advertising? Well, it really means a lot. And here's what we're talking about. Right now, Google owns many properties. They own Google, they own Google Image, they own Google News, they own YouTube, Google Video. So what does that mean? Well, that means that impacts search. Now, coming down the road is what we call blended search. Some of you may have heard about it as universal search. And universal or blended search means that the search engine is going to go out and look at a variety of properties now, not just the text. So they're not limited to text. So now the question is, if you do a video, and i.e. that's why we have videos taped, because number one, it works for us because we're going to leverage the video in video search across that channel when somebody's looking. For example, if you look at my last presentation and you searched internet advertising, my videos come up from YouTube because we have optimized them correctly with the right show notes. We know how to do that so that we can leverage that video to work with our search so that people find us. If you have a picture today and you put it in Flickr and you know how to optimize it correctly, and it's part of your strategy and it's part of a channel that you think is going to work for you, you can have those different pieces work together. Okay? So that's what that means, is that if you know how to optimize correctly, so that's where the complexity comes in, because you know, it's not good enough to say, now I'm going to have a video. Now you have to know, how does that video work technically, and how does it give a link to your site to enhance your organic SEO. So it becomes much more complex. It's not just having it, but knowing how the message travels on the internet that works with search. So it becomes much more complex. The same with a blog. For example, people think if you have a blog, it's going to be viral. But not all blogs are viral, because a lot of blogs, they have a no-follow, which means you can't follow that link. However, if you know how to embed links inside of your blog, you can get links. So it's really knowing much more about that particular channel and how it works and how it delivers viralness, so to speak, that's going to make it work for you. So then what we're really doing today, too, is we have more tools. So we can do more behavioral targeting. Now, a lot of us are saying Google Big Brother is watching us, and they know everything that we do. They know everywhere we go. It's not a great thing. We don't like it. However, it does help when it serves up ads and behavioral targeting, because when you go and look at a car last week, and then you go and you search for something else, they may serve you a car ad because they know you're in the market for it, or at least you were looking at it last week, and maybe you're still interested. So a lot of advertising today, and I won't get into all of that, but a lot of it is moving today toward behavioral targeting online so that you get better results for what you're looking for. There's a lot today also with geo-targeting. For example, if you're looking for something in Massachusetts, you sometimes don't even have to put down Massachusetts, but it's going to serve you ads in Massachusetts. There is a good side and a bad side to that. The good side is, you know, maybe you do want something local and you're not going further. The bad side is maybe you don't want something local, and now they're pigeonholing you in a Massachusetts shoe, and maybe you don't need that. So, you know, there used to be, I think, a way to turn that geo-targeting off, but I think Google makes it almost impossible for you to find it now to turn it off. So it's not that easy to really control your results. So your results are going to be not as controlled. The other thing about search today, and some of you may have noticed it and may not have noticed it if you're really running some search programs, you don't always get the same results every time you search. So if you do 5 searches in a row, you may see a different set of results every time you do a different search. So some clients will say, well, my ad is not coming up every time. It may not come up every time. The rules and the complexity has really changed, and because you only have so much shelf space on page 1 in Google, and so who's going to get that space? And then if they rotate it through, more people can get that space. So it's, you know, it's a trade-off that you have to think about. Now, the other thing is that what we're finding today is a lot of statistical results that actually show that if someone sees a display ad online, they may not click on it, they may not do anything to it, for it, or whatever, but the fact that they saw it triggers a search later on to a relevant product. So that we're seeing a lot of connection with what we call an assist. In other words, if they didn't have that ad, the other things may not happen. So it's almost like a domino effect, that if you have one thing working for you in one area, it may have some effect on the other areas. And the real key, and I'm going to get into that a little later, is the measurability of all of this with a dashboard so that you can actually see it. Now, what we've noticed is that television advertising leads to searches, especially with brand keywords. And what you have to do, I think, when we're thinking strategically, is think about all of this, as I said, from a higher level before you run the campaign. Now, I have a little story here, so let me see if I can find it, because it is good. There is a famous, and some of you may know this, that there's an example of this from a TV 30-second television spot. General Motors ran a spot for Pontiac brand a few years ago. Did anybody hear about this GM spot? You probably haven't. We're in, this is our area, so we're kind of paying attention. Anyway, the television ads often stimulate web search behavior by increasing the brand awareness and sparking curiosity. But this GM spot was significant because it ended with an unusual call to action. It says, "Don't take our word for it. Google Pontiac and discover for yourself." And the ad ended not with a URL or a phone number, but what it ended with was an actual a screenshot of Google and a search box for Pontiac typed in. Now, fortunately, a search for Pontiac generated pages and pages of links, and so positive content in organic search results was created for both GM and especially for consumers in the form of fan forums, rating sites, and reference entries. However, interestingly enough, GM forgot to buy the keyword Pontiac in the paid results. So who came up in the paid results? Well, competitors and Pontiac dealers, and basically they lost the opportunity to connect that with their ad. So it was a real big misstep, but some other good things happened, but it was really a misstep. So the key here, the key knowledge that you need to leverage here is, before you do a TV campaign, before you do a radio campaign, look at the keywords, look at the overall strategic approach that you're trying to take, and make sure all your ducks are lined up so that you leverage each one of these other pieces or channels to your interests so that you get the maximum results out of it.